more of a deep dive into where I can start to add elements of training to improve my performance. This is something that I'm taking it from a data standpoint rather than synaptic. In other words, it's not how I feel about a ride, and the next ride that I do, am I going to feel more tired, less tired, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking at this purely from a statistics point of view because the data can't lie. It will tell you if you are underperforming. It will tell you whether you are working efficiently. But what it won't do is it won't lie. A couple of real good websites I've been looking at, but the one that I've stuck with is this one, and it's called, I'll just zoom in a little bit so you can see. It's actually called Intervals.icu. And what this is, it's free, right? So it's not like training plan or any of the other ones. It's got a lot of really good features. Now, for how long this remains free, it's anybody's guess, because I'm not joking with you when I say that this really puts what I could do when I had a Strava premium account last year during lockdown. Now I don't have a premium account anymore. Never had a need for all of the information that they had on there because I'm only an indoor Zwift rider. But now I'm a little bit more interested in developing and getting a bit more performance enhanced. And this is a great thing, and it's free. So once you've got your Intervals.icu account created, then you do a pair. So you link it with Strava, and all of the data that you, hopefully with your Zwift to Strava connected account, so that's the first step. If you don't connect your Zwift to Strava, you're not going to see any of your Zwift activities in intervals when you connect that to Strava. So that's your first step. But then what you get is a very familiar looking calendar like this, and you can obviously go back historically. You can go forward, and you can plan things in this one as well. So I don't currently have anything scheduled for February. So all of these fields are empty, but I could, for instance, click in there and I could add a calendar entry if I wanted to do a particular ride. So A race, B race, C race, and all these other things, SIG injured. So you can actually put things in there. You're going to be on holiday or something like that. So looking forward, where you don't need to be putting things in on your map, on your calendar. Sorry. So just to give you an example, I've been racing with the Atom Racing team now for a number of months. And one thing I have identified in myself is a particular weakness when it comes to hill climbs. Seem to be all right in the flats, do a bit better with time trials when I'm in a team than I do when I'm racing on the same courses, when I'm riding solo, when I'm not taking a draft off anybody else, or if I can't stay with the pack and get dropped off the back of a pack or whatever, right? So, but hills are an absolute nightmare for me. Start off strong, can climb up the steepest of them. I've managed to get a sub 60-minute Alpe Zwift climb, which is a steady-ish 8% climb all the way up. It varies all the way up, but it's an average of about 8%. I think I've climbed it now 13 times, and I think there's only 2 occasions where it's been longer than an hour. So on that, the endurance climb, where it is pretty much a steady degree of slope all the way up, not a problem. It's where we have the variation in the degree of slope that I struggle with. And one that really kind of burns me out every single time is the epic KOM reverse climb. Probably only done it about 6 times on Zwift, if I'm honest, because it is such a nightmare of a climb. And it's part of Mega Pretzel, which I did as a meetup this morning. And it's probably a while since I did that one. So let's just have a quick look at how that went. I didn't complete the entire Mega Pretzel. I literally stopped as soon as I got down at the end of Epic KOM Reverse, about the 35 kilometre mark. It took me just over an hour to go around the beginning of that map, climb all the way up, and then on the way back down again. I had some issues, niggles with my right knee, and I thought it better to rest it than to risk it. So let's just have a quick zoom in on this. So because it takes the information directly from the fit files, as does Strava, and because Zwift are really clever, what they've done is any in-game elevation changes are actually mapped on this particular chart in altitude, so you can see exactly where the climbs were. Now, because I know that I only did Epic KOM, and that's the highest peak on Mega Pretzel, and I know that this big lump here is the Epic KOM lump, and this section that you can see just there where I'm highlighting is the reverse climb, the reverse slope. You can see that there are a few sections where it does dip a little bit, and I've got the requisite drop in watts as well. Similarly, there's a little bit of a downhill where the power isn't as high. The average 30-second power on that one there with the rainbow colours, it's not as high because I'm kind of coasting down a hill, just recovering a little bit. But in the main, that is the element of the climb that I did. So I'm just trying to find the right. Let me have a look now. So I've got the power. Is it that one? No. Bear with me. It took me a while because it took me a while to find it this morning. I'll go to that one. Right. So what I wanted to do was have a look at zoom too far in, I can't actually see the little options at the top. In fact, I'll tell you why, it's because I didn't even get the information off this one. The other bit of software that I used to have a look and see what the power was for that particular section was one called Golden Cheater. I'm just about to load it up now. So Golden Cheater, again, it's another free app that you can download for Windows, and it is super complicated. Right, there's nothing easy about Golden Cheater unless you just do nothing in your day job apart from scrutinize data. I'm just going to drag this up so you can actually see in screen. Hopefully that's still on. Just check, make sure we still got that on there. Yeah, we have. Right. So the same information on this one, I can now click on what was it? Power, I think it is. Oh, here we go. Right, so go to ride. That one. Right. Looks a little bit kind of psychedelic, but where we showed on Intervals.icu the elements of the climb, what Golden Cheater has done, because I've got the same ride on there. Look, I've got Scotty's meetup. I'm just going to zoom in again, so you can have another look at this. Get this to work. I don't think this will actually zoom in anymore. Right. Just move that across a little bit so you can see what I'm doing on the left-hand side. So in here, there's a little. Get that. So awkward to do this now. Right. There we go. Right. So what you can see is within this intervals, as I hover over it, it'll select the section that it's talking about in the actual race data or the ride data. So as I come down, you can see there, look, there's a 93% 10 minutes 16 seconds efforts at about 322 watts, and that is right in the middle of that section of the climb that I talked about. You see these little dips, one just there, and there's one just there, and there's one there. These are the little dips before we get to the summit. So this here is about the summit. So the full green square there is all of the Epic KOM climb. There's a little bit there as well that's needs to be highlighted. So what you do in Golden Cheater is you have a look at the different sections, you work out which bits are relevant to that particular climb. So there's a little bit there, look, it's about 2 minutes of 348 watts. There's another little bit, which is 3 minutes 22 at 349 watts. There's this section, which is 7 minutes 50 at 332 watts. And then there's that section, 10 minutes 16 seconds at 322. And it doesn't matter that some of these overlap, because the main thing is you're working out, as at today, I was putting out maximum up that hill of 349 watts. You can just see there, 349 watts. Now, today my FTP is 315 watts. So use a calculator, do whatever you need to do. Work out what the percentage is of your watts. So for the layman, right, it's going to, bear with me, it's going to drag up the calculator just to show you. Right, easiest way to do it. So my FTP at the minute is 315 watts. I want to know how much harder than my FTP, because it's a higher number, 349 watts. How much harder were I working up that hill than what my 100% best is? So you just basically go 349, oops, slight delay on that, 349, divide that by 315 equals, times that by 100, and there you go, times that by 100, it's 110. Ignore these digits after the decimal point. It's 110% of what my FTP is. Right. That number there is a denominator. So it doesn't matter if in the future my FTP drops to say 306, or if it goes up to say 320. The 110 there is a common denominator now that you can work in any of your FTP parameters going forward. What it also allows you to do, though, is it helps build in a program where you are wanting to improve either efficiency, or you want to work at a much higher level to train to get fitter at that level. So in other words, if you're training 2 or 3% higher than what each of them sections is, when you do, and you do well, right, when you then enter a race, if you're entering the race at your existing FTP, but you've been training at a lot higher, even higher than your efforts of being up with this Epic KOM, for instance, on this map, if you've been training at a higher percentage of your FTP already, then in the game, you can perform at your existing FTP, hopefully more efficiently, still have a little bit in reserve if you have any dropouts, or if there's anything in game that kind of challenges you a little bit more. So what you then do with that information is you can then go into build. I'm going to go back onto this now. You go to zwofactory.com, just search for it as well, because it seems to be a nightmare to type it in. ZWO Zwift Workout, which is the Zwift workout files, called ZWO Factory. In here, I've already built this one. So in here, give it a name that you know you'll not forget. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit on that, because I can on this one. Right. Describe what it is. So this equates to the Epic KOM reverse ascent duration, and it's a percentage of the FTP effort. That's who I am. They're the tags for what it is. Right. What you then do is you can click these sections up here, and they will appear in the order that you click them. So I click that first, it goes down into there. When you've got that section, you highlight it. You can then tell the bottom. So this is an increase. This is a ramp up. So it's a warm up, if you like. So I want this to be no longer than 5 minutes. I want it to start at 35% of my FTP and gradually increase up to 55. You'll have seen this effect already if you've been using Zwift programs. Where you're in game, and you'll naturally see your percentage of your FTP, your watts going up as you're riding in for, say, a 10-minute warm-up. Automatic, and that's how it does it. Basically, it just gives you a sliding scale. So what I've done is on this one, because I know how the map starts, it pretty much starts on the land bridge between Italian Villas and Volcano. So because I'm not that bothered about putting elevations in there, putting watts particularly in there, I've just guessed that it's about 5 minutes long. That then leads into this section, which is 7.5 minutes long, which then holds me at 60% of my FTP. So this is just getting legs warmed up, just getting out the breath a little bit now, getting everything kind of working. This next section is 10 minutes of just free ride. So I can, within that, I can change that, the watts on that as I see fit. So if I feel as though I'm okay, I can add a few extra watts on there. If I feel as I'm getting tired, I can lower that off. But that's a 10-minute free section. And that sort of equates to what happens on the Mega Pretzel map where you're going through the jungle. This bit here now is where we start doing the work. And I had already worked out, you remember we said about what each of those little highlighted sections represents on the Golden Cheater. I'll just show you again. So these little sections that I talked about here, right, and what I worked out with the calculator, what each of these 348 watts, 332, 322, 278, so for instance, what they equate to in terms of the percentage of my FTP at the present. I've then fired that figure into there, and I've matched the amount of time that I managed to maintain that on the actual ride itself. So that's the first block, 10 minutes 15 seconds. That was 7 minutes 50 at 105% of my FTP. That one is a 2 minute 110, so getting to the steeper bits, and that's just slightly harder, 111% for 3 minutes and 22. And then, so this section, so you've got 10, 10, 15, you've got 18 minutes and 5, 20 minutes and 5, 25 minutes and 27 seconds, which is about the amount of time that I think it took me to get up to the top of Epic KOM. Right, so that's the working section. Now, because I do quite a lot of time trials, and a lot of the finishers actually go through sprint banners to the finish. So, or even in team time trials, you always try to get the best time that you can. So the last sort of few minutes of any ride is all about whacking out the power. So basically, what I've done in this section is I've said, right, I want 85% of my FTP for a minute, followed by 50% of my FTP for 3 minutes in there. So that's me working hard just to keep up to the finish. And then this is the sprint finish. It's 130%, so really working hard. So this would be real high watts per kilogram for about 25 seconds. I've gone through the banner, and then the last thing you do is a 5-minute cool down. So I'm dropping then from 65% to about 20. To be honest, it never lasts 5 minutes. I want to finish it on 20. I might just jump off the bike at, say, 35%, 40%, just finish the ride early. What you can also do is within this ramp up, you'll see you've got some symbols on there. So I've got a symbol on there which says I want the cadence to be constant. So this is a warm up. So I want the cadence to stay at 80. I don't want to be out spinning. I don't really want to be grinding through the wheels. I literally want that to gradually move me up from 35% FTP to 55%. But I want it to maintain me at 80 RPM, which is a nice steady warm up pace. Yeah. In here, I've then used the text field. So I've just put in there, look, so this message will come up on screen. So I'll just put, I don't understand what the offsets mean. So this section replicates jungle circuit. That's all I've put. And then on here, the text bit that I've put is, this is the foot of Epic KOM, reverse, 10 minutes 15. I didn't bother putting the rest in because by the time I get through that section, I'll know that these are going to be climbing sections as well. What I might do is I might just add a text one in there while you're watching. So I'm just going to add a text to that one. So this is the top banner of KOM, looking down and going through the rollers. Because there are some rollers all the way down there. I'm not exactly working out to the meter where they are, but there are some rollers that are going down there, and this is sort of like the flat section. There's another bit of a roller coming down off Epic KOM. There's another flat section. And then what I'll do on this one is I'll just put, this is to simulate a sprint finish to banner. Doesn't matter that The map that I was on this morning was mega press, and it goes on for another 90 or so kilometres. This is purely training. This is a hill training. It kind of gives me an equivalent of what Epic KOM Reverse is. So this one is, I can click, and I'm going to do this now. So I'm going to basically click each of these because I'm interested in finding out what the average power is through each of these sections. So these are my working sections. So it's important, I think, for me to know what I didn't move that across then, sorry. Right. So what the power is that I'm managing to put out. I know what I should be putting out because I can see by looking back on Golden Cheater what I should be putting out. And if I'm not putting out the average power through that section, it's just like an FTP test, remember. So that's over 20 minutes there. So this is a real good gauge as well. So it kind of doubles up as an FTP test. Once you've done all of that and you're happy with it, you then click download the ZWO file, and it'll put it in your Windows drive. Now within Windows, you can then just get the folder open. I'll show you exactly. Okay, so right, okay, so here we go. So in your PC documents, I'm trying to zoom in a little bit if I can. So in documents in Zwift, there is a folder called workouts, and then inside the number that corresponds to your Zwift ID, you then drag and drop the saved file that we've just done in that previous bit, the ZWO file. Okay, so now you've done that, then what? Well, this is where this might take slightly longer, and I'll have to explain it as this thing's loading up, because I'm just loading up Zwift. Okay, I'm just booting into Zwift now. I don't know why, but it seems to take longer to sign in on a PC, which should be fairly quick, than it does on an iPad or Apple TV. I'm not a big fan of Apple. By no means am I promoting Apple over PCs. It just amazes me why it seems to be so slow to come through on the PC. I've already done one there as well from previously, so you can have as many of these in here as you want. The key is that if you own an Apple TV, if you own an iPad, if you work on Android or an iPhone, and you know that it's really difficult to, well, you can't, on an Apple TV for a start, you can't create a custom workout. You have to choose the in-game workouts that are there. But there is a way, this is the workaround, how you get the Zwift workout files to be able to use them on Apple TV. Okay, we're nearly there. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to whack this up here so you can see it in game. I'm not going to maximize it, because if I do that, it would be a nightmare for me to then be able to make that a little bit bigger. Right, so now that I've dropped that into the Windows folder, Documents, Zwift, Workout, and go onto this main screen, and as you can see now, I've already got them opened up. So if I go to, normally you'd only see FTP tests and below. On, I think, the iPad, the custom workouts sit at the bottom, unless it's sorted out for you. But when you drop them in there, it might not be straight away. You might have to join and then exit Zwift and then join again if you don't pick up. But essentially then when you click in here, this is the one that I did previously, and now I've got that workout which I built is now sitting in there, and I know what it is. I've got exactly what I mentioned up there. It even tells me what my stress points are going to be on that one, and I've also got the little tags that you can see there, so it all works this out. Now you might be saying, well, Daz, how do you then work with this to improve yourself? Well, if you notice down here on a PC, but it's the same on an Apple TV. It'd be a bit harder to do this actually on the Apple TV because of the way that the remote control works. But you can see that my FTP is currently at 314. That needs changing actually because I got a 1 watt increase when I did a ride yesterday. But if you want to make it easier as a training, as just a leg turner, you can drop that right down, and you can see that the corresponding blocks of work drop down a corresponding amount of watts. And if you want to make it harder, you go beyond your current FTP, and each of the sections gets a little bit harder, including the warm up and cool down. So this becomes very useful because if you're working towards a particular event and you know that the event is going to be mega pretzel, say for instance, and you know that that's your weak spot is the or if you're doing an epic K1 reverse, crikey, if you're doing a race and you're doing the mega pretzel, you're doing something wrong because it's 3.5 hours. Can you drop that? Yeah, so even with a mouse and keyboard, it's hard for me to get that to stop at 315, which is what my current watts is. It seems to be wanting to skip past 360 and go to 314. I can live with it. So essentially, you then can continue to build up. So you can work at your current FTP, but then as your progression goes on throughout the weeks up to the event itself, or maybe a few days, and that you can increase that watts so that you're building in stronger resilience, if you like, to higher watts. So if you do end up with a high pace and a fast climbing pack, if you've trained at say 320, which might be 115% higher than your FTP, then your body should be able to cope with it. What doesn't work so much is when you constantly enter races and you never challenge yourself. And it's a bit like the definition of insanity. It's the fact that you are training the same, racing the same, not changing anything, and then you're wondering why you're not getting the same results. It's the definition of insanity. Doing the same things, repeating them, not changing anything, then wondering why nothing's changed. So that's how you do a workout. You build a workout, modelling it against one of your previous rides. Then you can whack it into Zwift, test yourself, and you can basically train and do what you want. If you need to then edit that, you can go back into Zwift workout and add a little bit. So if you think, well, actually, I need that section to be a little bit harder, you can then reverse load the ZWO file back into ZWO factory and then edit, re-download, and then re-upload it. So I hope that's been useful. I'm certainly going to be using this hill climbing development for a few weeks yet. I'll probably put in something as well, modelling on one of the crit races that I've done as well, because Dolphin City was a bit of a killer for me the other day when I did that, and I can do with some development. So this is just little ways that you can do that. No cost to yourself really, just a little bit of your time and a little bit of understanding of what Intervals.icu and what Golden Cheater can do and help you. Anyway, leave us a like, leave some comments if you like as well, and if there's anything that you'd like me to cover in future live stream videos, then just give me a shout. Okay guys, that's been me, Daz, the Wattbike Atom Zwifter. Hope you are enjoying your riding. Take care.